When I think about the communities in Richmond, California, a couple of things come to mind. The first is where you see the dilapidation of buildings. You see that there's pollution in the air. You find that everything you look at seems to be in a deterioration state. And so even from a psychological, visual perspective, one is already defeated by the environment itself.
I was born and raised here in Richmond, California, and was raised in the community or neighborhood called the Iron Triangle. And for the past 25 years, I've been a community and student advocate to improve the quality of life of families within the city of Richmond. For the past 10 years, I have been blessed to work with elementary age students from communities such as the Iron Triangle neighborhood, the Santa Fe neighborhood, and the Coronado neighborhood.
So today we are going to share some information with you that we believe will help you to become a constructive force in your child's education. Now this is going to be a participatory process.
And during that 10-year period of being blessed to work with those students and their families, it had always been on my heart for the past 5 years to host a study trip to Washington, D.C. to expose our elementary school students to their history and their culture. I would say going into around February of 2024, the Lord blessed me with the opportunity to seek out a performance partnership with a local nonprofit agency called Peacemakers. So I called Mr. Hank Roberts up and shared with him the vision that the Lord had put on my heart to host a Washington, D.C. study trip for elementary age students to enable them to learn about their history and culture with the ultimate goal of improving their academic outcomes.
Well, Reverend Shoemaker and I actually had a conversation about the Richmond Improvement Association, and I was really charged by what he was saying in terms of helping families, and I was looking at ways that I could connect with him to make sure that some of the children and families I was serving could be recipients of what RIA offered.
The Spirit of the Lord moved and said, Shoemaker, stop talking about it and be about it. Go make it happen. So I started reaching out, talking to donors, because the vision that the Lord had given me, we were going to raise the funds privately in order to make this trip happen.
When I first heard about the trip from the community, I said yes. Back in my early days on the neighborhood council, I worked closely with Santa Fe neighborhood, Coronado neighborhood, and many other neighborhoods in the community at large. And being a community person, I said, hey, we can do this. We can make this happen.
When I heard about the trip that the children will be taking to go to Washington, I was very excited. I was wondering if I could go. I was interested in what they were going to see. When I heard about how robust the trip was going to be, I was like, that would be something that I would like to see our children experience generationally, not just one time, but something that we put in the fabric of our community where our children have an opportunity to see and hear and feel and touch something different than what they get to see and feel and touch every day.
Peacemakers, by default, has a real passion about history. One of the major deficits that we all face as people is not knowing our history. And this is a generational challenge that we're facing because Black history is not taught in our schools.
When we got to the Oakland airport for the day, I was a little anxious. And when we got there, they saw their friends, they were excited. You wouldn't think they haven't seen their friends for a while. So there at the airport, it was a little nerving because it was like, I didn't really know what to expect. Like we did prior, we did like meetings about the trip, but it's one thing to talk about what you're gonna do, and then it's one thing to actually do it.
So it said that everybody is checked in, right?
I really liked how it was organized. Like everybody had on their coats, and I thought that was cool because it helped me identify everybody that was coming because I haven't met everybody yet.
Pamela Tebow.
Yeah, you wanna hold it?
Melanie.
You wanna hold your flight?
Arroyo.
So when I first heard about this trip, I decided to jump on the wagon right away, and I wanted to be involved as a parent because I wanted my daughter and her friends to have this experience. You know, learning more about their ancestors and, you know, where they came
A
from.
lot of these kids have never been on a plane before, so they're really excited. And the plane lands, we get onto a bus that was just for us, and then we get to the hotel. And I think a lot of the adults were tired, but the energy of the kids was still up. And they were ready to see some things that they never saw before.
Never been to the East Coast before, never been to Virginia, DC before. Actually, it was my kids' first flight. And for them to take a flight all the way across the country for a purpose was very exciting for me.
I think it was really special that my husband could be a part of this trip because it's not a lot of fathers that are involved in their children's lives and able to take these trips. It was purpose driven. We went for a purpose to learn, and that's exactly what we did.
Going into the Harriet Tubman Museum, they had a statue of Harriet Tubman and her actual size, and she was really tiny. And the kids got to see that, and they couldn't imagine her being able to escape, then come back to save others.
I didn't get a lot of African American education until I went to college. So for my kids to learn things that they didn't have to just hear from me telling them, or they didn't have to wait till they were older or in college to learn, it was just really important for them, especially as Black women. They are Black women, they are Black women. So the trip highlighted all of that.
The African American Museum, right? This museum was so powerful because it had several levels to it. And the level, you want to start at the bottom. And the bottom is slavery. And then you work your way up as if you're going through history, okay? The bottom part of this museum was really powerful for me because I know about slavery.
Washington, D.C. is very high on Black excellence, and it was very important to understand that us as a people not only, came here as slaves, but also came here and helped build what is called Washington, D.C. today.
One of my favorite parts about this museum was that I believe it was on the 3rd floor, okay? They had this, it was a screen that was electronical and you can move it. And the thing about this screen that you could touch were all inventions made by African Americans. Just so many inventions that you couldn't believe. There were so many things on that list that you go through that you'd be like, we did that, So when people say that African Americans built America, it's through the inventions that you don't know. The stoplight as one, Internet, don't forget that one, because that's very important. And the children got to see that.
So this trip definitely piqued my daughter's interest, and it helped stimulate her mind and interest in learning. The experience I had on the trip learning with my daughter, it was an amazing one because we both got to learn together. She learned a lot about her ancestors and history as well, but she wants to know more. And every time we're together, like out and about, she's always like, saying how much fun she had on the trip.
We learned about Mary McLeod Bethune. I never heard of her until I went on that trip.
Mary McLeod Bethune gets the name recognition in history, even if it's not nearly as much as she deserves. But she is not doing any of this work by herself. She is supported by a massive chorus of voices who are even less well known. Huge global vision. She's president, National Council of Negro Women. If that is not enough work, Mary McLeod Bethune, at this same time, is also vice president of the NAACP. So she is leading basically 2 major civil rights organizations, side by side. If that's not enough work, she's also the first Black woman in American history to be running a federal government agency. She's at the head of the National Youth Administration, which is a part of the government that doesn't exist anymore, It was a very significant office in the early 20th century, though, when we're in the New Deal, Great Depression time.
Ben's Chili Bowl is a restaurant that's been up for about a long time. And when Barack Obama first became president, he flew out there, and that was the first place he went to, was Ben's Chili Bowl.
This area here, the Shaw area, and U Street in particular, was very famous for African Americans. You had the great northern migration of black African Americans coming from the south to the northern for better opportunities, better jobs. But we were better than Washington, D.C., where you had the federal government and great arts, music, history, and culture. You had Howard University that started in 1867, right around the corner. And over here, because of segregation, it was interesting because you had blue collar, white collar side by side. You had the doctors and lawyers and professionals right next to the working people because of segregation. You couldn't get anything from outside of your community. Therefore, we were self-contained and had everything inside your community. So we had over 300 African-American businesses in this corridor. It was a wonderful time for African Americans being in this city. We opened in 1958. It was called Black Broadway. Black Broadway because we had the jazz clubs up and down U Street. So it was 10 wonderful years from 1958 to 1968. But what happened in 1968? Dr. Martin Luther King was killed, right? And when this great man, this peaceful leader who was fighting for our civil rights was killed violently, people were so angry, so upset. Next thing you know, we have 3 days and 3 nights of full-scale rioting right here in the streets of this area. Of course, it's happened in other cities as well, that large African-American populations, but here was a really bad one. And we had National Guard soldiers, rifles, walking around in the streets of D.C. We had curfew, so that was a terrible time for us. We actually had a special permit to stay open during the riots to help feed the construction of the police and the firemen and the rescue workers and the students to help stop the violence. So we opened in 1958, we survived those riots of 1968, those drug wars of 1978. By the 80s, they wanted to fix the area back up again. And the main thing was to put the subway, the metro construction. They put a subway stop over there, a metro rail for transportation. That's going to really help the economy, help development of the area. They used to call D.C. Chocolate City for the amount of African Americans who lived in D.C. They don't call it Chocolate City anymore.
Well, I represent the United States Color Troops, which organized here in Washington, D.C. in May of 1863. So it's one of America's best kept secrets in American history. But we served in every branch. We was in the Navy, which was the only branch that was integrated. For the Bureau of United States Color Troops, there were 142 color infantry regiments. There's 7 color cavalry regiments, 13 color artillery regiments, and there were color pioneer regiments, which you call today's military corps engineers. If you want to send your best players in a game, you send your best players in to win the game. You don't send your worst in first, you send your best in.
So I found my 4th great-grandfather's name on the Civil War Memorial that we stopped by at, and his name is Peter Butler, but I compared it to my family tree, and sure enough, he was definitely in the Civil War, and I never knew that. I gravitated towards his name, which is really weird, on the memorial. I just felt like I needed to go over there and just look, and then I happened to look exactly out of thousands of names, I found his name. And it's hard to find out because their names are etched in there and they're so tiny. So that was just a really amazing experience for me.
Opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe.
Miss Evie Lola is a 6th grade teacher, and she teaches like all the subjects like math, science. She let us do group projects and stuff. She was actually really cool on the trip. Like she was like a teacher, and also like she was getting along with the parents.
Miss Evie Lolo was a great person to be there. She was a parent, a teacher, a chaperone. She was all of the above. She had order. She kept order with everything. It was amazing to, even have conversations with her, the one-on-ones that I had with her, and to see her engage with the children. And the children know her and they respect her and they love her. And it was just amazing to see the impact that she has on the children.
Miss Evie Lola was one of the most educated individuals on the trip. And I don't think that the trip would have worked as well because of the education level that she has.
The children were able to go to Howard University. My daughter, she'll be a high schooler next year, and she's always wanted to go to Berkeley. And I know we've seen Berkeley, we've driven by Berkeley, but we were able to go and see a whole nother college at HBCU.
The Black Parent Resource Center, one of our big goals here is that we want children to have higher education. We don't want them to stop, at just what we can give them. This trip, one thing I really like about it is it exposed children to not just a higher education, but an institution where they could see people who look like them. That was made for people who are like them.
And it's kind of expanded her options of wanting to see other colleges and wanting to go other places. So I think that was a great experience for her, which also she have an 11-year-old sister that's following right behind her. So it's a domino effect. So what she does and when she goes out in the world, it will definitely affect her sister. And so it's basically comes right back to the community as a family.
So Howard University is so cool because a lot of the people who live in my community here in Richmond, they graduated from there. This trip is giving children opportunities to see this school. So now this is a way for our children to automatically ask questions about this school. They have a curiosity, they have an engagement. Their parents were able to get a part of this conversation with them, where this could not just be something that they experience, this could be something they can actually see themselves doing. They got to touch Howard's campus. It wasn't a picture, it wasn't just on a video. And then this is, for us to continue to do this trip, is an investment into our future. We have to invest into these things. Take the children to Howard, take the children to all the HBCUs we can to give them opportunities to touch and feel and see what they can be. And this way we can have a robust, wealthy, healthy community with children that have degrees in science, technology, things we need in our community. This will put us ahead because our younger children are getting exposed when they're not just 12th grade and now they have to look for a college. We're giving them opportunity. Maybe we might have a genius amongst them.
When we was on the trip, I wanted to make sure when I was taking pictures that the children that I was chaperoning, I didn't want to just take pictures of them standing there or anything, but I wanted to take pictures of them interacting with the things that they saw. And with them interacting with those things, then they had questions about it. And when they had questions about those things, it gave me an opportunity to explain it in the best of my knowledge, and then us going into reading about what it was that we were looking at.
So can you imagine families going somewhere as a family to learn about Black history? I was fascinated. I was mesmerized by the idea that here's a father and a mother who now can be with their child to learn Black history together. And these are folks, again, that are from the neighborhoods. What are the odds that they would have an opportunity to go to a place like Washington, D.C. to learn history?
When we were in Washington Park across from the White House, it was like a DJ, but he wasn't like an actual DJ. He was sitting down with like a DJ booth on his lap. And then he started playing Wobble Baby. And that song like plays at every single family function. You could go to a family function, you would hear that song, you would see your aunties, uncles, cousins line up and start dancing. That's like a thing back home, like music here, like the kids like it. Like every single kid listens to at least the same song. And so for him to play that song, which all the kids recognize from back home, it like brought something out, because since they were at home, at least they had music that was from home, you know? So like everyone just started dancing and stuff. I mean, I don't like dancing in front of people, so I was just watching, because like They do that all the time. Like sometimes after school programs, kids would start playing music and they would start dancing, make videos and stuff. So they would just start dancing, and then their parents joined in. It was really nice. I actually liked it because all their parents were laughing and they were happy to see their kids actually enjoying themselves with music in front of the White House.
You've been to the White House before?
During this trip, I got to speak to the children and tell them, you know, we're from Richmond, California. And I let them know there's people that's my age and older that's never left Richmond, California, that's never seen San Francisco. So this was a very important opportunity for them.
So Laura, where's your ride at?
She's coming. I already called her.
Okay, well stay over here with us.
So when I came back, took my phone, and then I printed out a bunch of these pictures. And I made 3 collages on 3 different pieces of paper, which was the background paper, black, green, and red. You know what that is. And then I posted them on the window of my office. So when you come into our cafeteria, the first thing that you see is my office. And what this did was when the children that came on the trip and those that hadn't been on the trip but heard about it, it gave them an opportunity to come up to the window every day. And they still do it to this day. And they say, this is where I went, that's me.
We've had a lot of promises, and we've had a lot of we can do and we will do, but Mr. Shoemake, he made it happen. The organization that put this together and made it happen, it was amazing. It was a historical moment, and I'm glad to know that we were a part of that.
I think the trip was really well organized. Like, they had enough chaperones, and they had kids who actually wanted to go and learn. They didn't bring kids who were going to play around. They actually learned something.
Oh, thank you, son. Come on, baby.
Have another one? Oh, okay, that was it. Oh, bless his heart. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I gotta give you hugs. You're so wonderful. Thank you. I want to take you everywhere I go with these kids, okay?
Thank you.
All right, now get your fuzzy face.
Yes, we made it. No child missing. Are we good? How you doing, sir? Are you awake?
The kids, they actually work together to learn about something they won't really get another chance to learn about depending on like the school system.
Projects like these will have a long-term effect because once these kids go on to middle school and high school, they're going to get, I feel, in my opinion, a watered-down version of African American history.
I believe that if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. And that it's time to do something different. This Washington, D.C. study trip for those elementary age students is that something different.
This is definitely something that our community needs to support and become behind and back and make sure that this never stops because we need to always learn.
It's really clear to me that the younger the child is, the more longer and enduring their inspiration will be. I'm excited because this is elementary school. This is the foundation of learning. This is the difference between a child looking to their future at a young age, already realizing what they've already seen and being inspired thereafter to go on in life. I love the fact that it's family, that mothers and fathers are traveling together with their child. Who does that?
Reverend Shoemake has always created that space for children to find hope in themselves and each other. And this is just another one of the great projects he's done.
They say it takes a village to raise our children, so it's going to take the community. So I encourage all families, all parents, mother, father, everybody to come together and provide these events for these children because it was a great experience.
My kids don't have a box way of thinking about history. No, not anymore, not due to this trip.